Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Missile exchanges between Israel and Iran finally stopped after both sides agreed to a ceasefire. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs said Alert Level 3 remains in effect in both countries.
Vice President Sara Duterte fires back at ICC prosecutors for blocking her father's request for interim release.
The National Police steps up its investigation into the disappearance of 34 missing cockfighting enthusiasts.
Another upset win for Alex Ayala, this time over world number 20 Ostapenko at the Eastbourne Open.
First in the news, the Foreign Affairs Department retains Alert Level 3 over Israel and Iran despite the implementation of the ceasefire. Here's the report.
On day 12 of the conflict, missile exchanges between Israel and Iran have finally stopped after both sides agreed to a U.S.-brokered ceasefire. Israel has lifted its state of emergency, and Iran said it has fired its final round of missiles. Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff said the ceasefire is holding and talks of a more permanent peace are now underway. But the damage has been done. In 12 days of airstrikes, Iran reported more than 600 dead, while Israel recorded 28 fatalities. Satellite images show damage to Iranian nuclear sites after U.S. strikes hit facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. Trump claimed on social media that Iran's nuclear sites were obliterated. But intelligence reports said the strikes only destroyed above-ground structures and may have delayed, not dismantled, Iran's nuclear program. Uranium stocks are likely still intact. Meanwhile, DFA Undersecretary Ed De Vega said Alert Level 3 remains in Israel and Iran, but alert level could be lowered if the truce holds.
It's Alert Level 3 for both Israel and Iran because, well, we need the ambassadors' assessments. We need the ambassadors' both ambassadors' formal recommendations. We always said that the alert levels are subject to periodic review, could be lowered, could be raised, depending on the local situation. There is this ceasefire, which is good news. Our DFA has issued a statement welcoming it. However, the fact is, as people say, it's still a fragile ceasefire. And there is still a need to make sure that it holds.
Yeah, kausap natin yesterday si
Yes,
Yusek
of
Ed De
course.
Vega, no? Tapos sabi, we were asking him ano ba talaga ang sentiment on the ground. Kasi meron na ceasefire in place, pero iba yung sentiment on the ground, no? So parang the general feeling is it's medyo volatile ang ceasefire. It's because Iran is quite negative about yung how long the ceasefire might last.
Right.
So with that pronouncement, even with a ceasefire in place, then the Alert Level 3 should remain to be safe, no?
Pero according to US President Donald Trump, no, it's a victory for him, ano.
Well, step one.
Step 1 daw itong peace process, itong going back to the negotiating table at magkaroon nga ng ceasefire. But dun sa nagtatanong naman about our OFWs, sa atin nakauwi na ang 31 OFWs, 26 doon ay mula sa Israel. The rest are from Qatar, Iran.
Correct.
And they were expected supposedly to go back here nung Tuesday pa lang. Pero there were delays because alam naman natin nagkaroon nga ng closure yung airspace sa
nag-lock.
Qatar.
May
Dahil nga dun
tinatawag
sa
na
missile
ano,
exchange between Israel and Iran.
Ang formal tawag ata nila doon, airspace lockdown. Eh.
Oo.
Kasi although nga may ceasefire is a good thing and the right step, ang sinasabi ng mga ibang political scientists that ang problem dito is what Iran wants is different from what Israel wants. Israel wants to eliminate and the US wants to eliminate yung nuclear capacity ng Iran. But Iran says wala naman nuclear capacity. So ano ang pag-uusapan nyo sa negotiating table? So at least for now, we're buying time for the people to be evacuated to safety, 'di ba? Yung mga kung may mga people in harm's way, yun muna ang step
Yeah.
one eh. But moving forward, medyo mahabang
Yes.
usapin to.
And as we discussed it nga yesterday also, yung ibang mga kababayan natin were also afraid of going home. Number one, of course, sabi nila, hindi na pala afraid, yung parang nagdadalawang isip, second thoughts, so having second thoughts
Yeah.
no, of going home. Kasi sabi nila, yung airstrikes daw are getting weaker, tapos yung iba naman are afraid to travel by land
Correct.
yesterday. Kaya, tapos ilang pang reasons would be ayaw nilang iwan yung mga, kasi ilan sa mga OFWs natin doon, mga caregivers.
Yeah.
So parang nakukonsensus sila kung iiwan nila yung
Alaga
mga patients
nila.
nila doon, 'di ba, in the middle of this conflict. Kaya may mga ganong mga issues. But yung mga OFWs that are here already from the Middle East countries are going to be given mga financial aid. So we discussed that also yesterday with the DFA Undersecretary De Vega.
Yeah.
They will be given 150,000. Ano yan may proseso sabi niya, pero mostly mabilis daw ang pagbibigay dyan. And of course, may mga iba pang mga ayuda from DSWD, yung mga AIX nila. And yung psychosocial, no, na may mga debriefing. Dahil syempre, traumatizing din yung, di ba, alam mo yung ibang mga reports natin dito, yung mga ibang kababayan natin, na habang ini-interview sila, maririnig mo yung yung missile na sound, 'di ba? Yung mga bombs na umaatake dun sa lugar nila.
Parang sinasabi
it's
ni
really
Yusek-
traumatizing.
Ni Yusek De Vega, yung mga Filipinos in Iran and Israel who've been there for at least a decade or so, medyo okay lang, sanay na sila sa nangyayari. But yung mga bagong salta daw sa Israel at Iran, yung mga 3 years, or especially sa Israel, those who are just started working, ang mga 3 years pa lang, hindi daw nila kinakaya yung fear. Yung fear ng mga, yung mga air raid siren,
Right.
talagang hindi sila sanay. Pero yung pag 10 years or more ka, sanay ka na daw.
Pati
Pero
mga Philippines na nasa Iran, kasi may mga asawa na sila
hindi
dun,
siya,
saka
sanay na daw
family.
sila eh. Sanay na daw sila eh.
Alright, this news also, President Bongbong Marcos said the conflict in the Middle East may have little impact on the Philippine economy. Meanwhile, the Energy Department noted that fuel prices could go down next week if global costs continue to drop. Here is the report.
President Bongbong Marcos said the impact of the Iran conflict on the Philippine economy should be manageable. In an ambush interview, Marcos noted that there is no need for fuel subsidies for now.
Nakita natin that the effect on the economy should be manageable. May effect siyempre kahit pa paano pag tumaas ang presyo ng langis. Kung hindi nagbago yung presyo, then we do the same like before. Ang sinasabi namin at hindi ayuda, subsidy, pag tumaas ang presyo. Kung di tumaas ang presyo ng langis, then there's no need for that.
Still, the president assured that the government is closely monitoring developments in the Middle East. Meanwhile, the second round of oil price hikes is scheduled today, June 26. Gasoline prices are expected to go up by 1 peso and 75 centavos per liter, while diesel and kerosene may increase by over 2 pesos. The Department of Energy said if global prices continue to drop, a rollback is likely next week.
Ang adjustment na ginawa ngayong week, nanggaling na ho yan sa previous 2 weeks. So nangyari na ho yan, yung mga increases. So hindi na ho, medyo mahirap kung hindi nila makolekt yung ganong adjustment. Kasi yun ho'y nadaanan na nila.
Okay, so right now I think magkakaroon ulit ng mga pressure ang Malacanang regarding this fuel subsidy kasi maraming mga, of course, yung mga transport groups, yung mga advocates are saying na, uy, dapat ibigay nyo na yung fuel subsidy namin dahil hindi maganda dahil this week, di ba, almost 5 pesos yung tinaas nung sa market natin dito ng mga langis.
Yes,
so
oo,
sinasabi
oo.
na tanggalin na. And yung iba, ang mga suggestion nila is tanggalin na muna yung VAT, yung excise tax. Pero the government reiterates na yung kasi within the law, no, yung excise tax and VAT are imposed by the law.
Yes, that's right.
So ibig sabihin, neither the DOE, Department of Finance, hindi nila magagalaw yan unless baguhin yung law or magkaroon ng emergency powers ang Pangulo. Yung sa train law naman, pag sinabi niyo yun, ang suspension naman doon na sinasabi ng Republic Act 9 or 10963 o yung tax reform for acceleration and inclusion, yung train law,
train law.
it allows a suspension only of the fuel tax increases, not the taxes themselves.
Yes.
And the taxes that we collect from yung excise tax, yung
Goes
VAT
to the
na yan,
subsidies.
goes to the subsidies, at saka yung mga public services. So sinasabi ng government, we have to strike a balance to protect, of course, yung commuters,
Pero we
yung
understand
drivers,
na,
and
ano,
of course, sustain yung mga public services.
We understand it's part of the law, pero ang computation kasi ng ibang economists, not in the government side, are saying, pupunta sa subsidy yung nasa train law, excise tax. Pero if you compute how much is lost sa mga namamasada sa atin because of the tax due to fuel prices and the subsidy na bumabalik, hindi quantifiable. In other words, mas mataas pa rin ang nadideduct on a monthly basis if you compute that. Ang laki ng tax. But ang problema, it's in the law nga.
Yun nga, hindi wala daw silang magagawa.
Just like yung sinabi rin when we were talking to yung I think people sa transport sector about yung what's this, subsidies ba? And tinanong natin kung kahit kolorum ba kasama. Yes, because the law just merely
Sa LTFRB.
Oo, basta ang utos ng Pangulo is anyone in the transport sector within the parameters of the law kasama sa subsidy. Just like the train and the excise tax, kasama rin sa batas
And they're
yan.
looking forward daw doon sa next week baka daw magkaroon ng rollback because of this yung
Malaking
ceasefire.
rollback daw. Malaking rollback
Because
daw.
of the ceasefire. And we all know naman kasi tulad ng napag-uusapan natin even off-air na yung market speculation ng oil, 'di ba? Sinasabi
Pero
na
takot ako dyan sa rollback. Niro-rollback kayo ng 3 piso pero tataas kayo ng 5.
Oo.
Nakakatakot yun.
Actually, this yesterday pinatupad yung pangalawang tranche.
Malaki. 2 piso ba?
Oo,
150.
kasi di ba
Iba-iba.
parang hinati nila. Pero at the same time, sabi nga natin, it's still the same. Hinati mo
Yeah.
lang, parang dinelay mo lang yung yung paggastos ng
Kaya
mga
average nyo yung prices
services.
ng fuel over the month, tignan nyo, parang pareho lang ang nangyayari every It's just that ang labanan dyan, sa araw na nagbaba yung presyo ng gasolina, kung talagang matikas ka, pumila ka na. Di ba kaagad, mag-full tank ka na lagi.
Magpa-full tank
Oo.
ka, oo.
Mag-full tank ka na. All right, the Philippine National Police is stepping up its investigation into the disappearance of 34 missing cockfighting enthusiasts or sabongeros who disappeared in 2021. This follows a major development from a suspect known only as alias Totoy, who claims the victims were buried in Taal Lake in Batangas. The PNP is now verifying his account, including allegations that some police officers may have been involved. PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III has pled to lead the search himself. He previously handled the case when he headed the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group.
Regardless po kung sino po ang involved dito, sibilyan, mataas na tao at even yung mga kabako po natin, wala po tayong sasantuhin po dito. So antayin po natin yung full disclosure po nitong lumabas po na possible witness po.
Oo nga,
So as we were talking about it, diba, yesterday, the other day
Si
pa.
General Torres said, he mismo, pag tinuro yung mga areas sa lake, gusto niya siya yung una. Kasi it's not that wala naman daw siyang tiwala sa mga ano niya. It's just that he wants to be first-hand because he's familiar with the case. Matagal na itong kaso eh.
Yeah, 2021 when they when they were reported missing, no. Pero I was reading an
Actually,
explainer
Oh, go ahead.
also the other day regarding this kung bakit why Taal Lake is the perfect disappearance.
Yeah, you were telling
Diba?
me.
I was telling about it. And then, kasi pero na-share mo na rin to before na aside from yung Taal Lake ay sobrang lalim, diba? 170 plus meters deep siya. Yung Taal Lake doesn't just bury the dead, it dissolves them because yung component niya, volcanic and acidic siya. And yun nga, no divers, no forensics, and no remains yung maaring makita doon. But we will see. Depende to doon sa magiging operation ng in coordination with DOJ and PNP doon sa site na yon, doon sa tinuturo nung witness, supposedly, diba? And in folklore daw, lakes like Taal or portals. Kung ano yung pumasok, wala nang lalabas.
Kasi you have to remember po, unlike the ocean, which is meron ocean bed, may sand, may layers of stone and lime. Ang Taal kasi is in nature, it's a layer of supposedly that lake was the original Taal volcano. So if you look at the ilalim daw, sabi ng mga divers, it is layered with soft sludge, sand, and ash. So malambot yung floor. Kasi nakapunta na ako dyan ng Taal, nag-shooting kami dyan noon nung batang 90s pa. May mga eksena kami tatapak ka, lulubog yung pagtapak mo kahit mababaw yung tubig, lulubog yung hanggang tuhod. That's how soft yung lupa is. So kung magtatapong ka ng katawan doon, talagang kakainin ka na ng lupa kung hindi ka muna inubos ng acidic water. So talaga yung sinasabi mo, I agree with that. That is a perfect
Pero what what happens now
Condition.
doon sa witness, supposedly, saying na ito'y naging burial site ng mga missing sabongeros? Kung halimbawa, for example, nagkaroon ng operation doon,
Wala.
wala silang nakita. Diba?
Well, if he can, parang ang alam ko is if he can.
Kasi they're willing to give him protection, di ba?
Yeah.
Kung totoo itong
But
mga sinasabi niya.
there are details in the case kasi na hindi alam ng public. So if he can name some of these details na hindi natin alam, hindi rin niya, there's no way na malalaman niya, pero mabigay niya to ng details sa mga investigators, then that can corroborate his authenticity. In other words, di ba, paano niya malalaman? There's no way he could have known it. But kung wala siyang maipunto ng mga ganon, then parang speculation lang mangyari. Ang pangit dito kasi, I don't know anong official tagging nila, missing pa ba?
Missing eh. Ngayon hindi ko na alam. Pero kasi syempre, during the Senate hearing, missing sabong.
Kasi
2021. Pero wala talagang balita about them. And I remember, sobrang gulo nitong mga investigation na to noon dahil yung mga isabong, di ba? At that time, nagkaroon pa ng mga parang, alam mo yung gulo sa communication ng Duterte government because they wanted to continue the operations.
Yeah.
And then, one part of the government says, isara na yung isabong. Pero sinasabi ng iba, isasara na lang yung mga the ones that are involved in the case. Di ba? Yung mga iniimbestigahan. Pero tuloy pa rin yung hindi. Yung may mga ganun nangyari yan at that time.
Kasi at the end of the day, walang closure itong mga pamilya.
Yes.
Gusto mo mag-move on, di ka maka-move on dahil missing ang tag sa'yo eh.
Exactly.
So, ano ba talaga
Ano
mangyari?
ang tawag daw dyan? Ambiguous loss. Kasi wala kang body. 'Di ba? Wala kang answer.
Wait lang. Nagdugo ilong ko na ako sa English na yun.
Oh, 'di ba? Okay, in other news, a bus company GV Florida Transport Incorporated is set to file a cyber libel case against the uploader of the viral video, which showed several of its buses allegedly racing along a national highway. GV Florida apologized but claimed that the video was sped up, saying it was maliciously edited and caused damage to the company's reputation. The company is now considering legal action against the uploader.
Pinalabas na nagkakarera yung mga bus, ginawang racetrack yung kalsada. Tapos, ang sabi ng mga IT, magagaling sa IT, naka 1.75 yung speed ng video. So almost double yung lumabas.
The Transportation Department said it is ready to provide legal protection and support to the uploader. The agency is also encouraging the public to continue reporting and submitting videos of abusive and reckless drivers.
Kapal ng mukha? Sige, okay. Obvious naman yung...
Gaslighter daw.
Obvious naman sped up yung video. Titignan mo yung video maigi. It's
Sige,
obvious
sabihin
sped-
na natin.
But there is such a thing as what you call reckless driving.
O, kasi wala sila sa linya eh.
Yes, anong definition ng reckless driving? Kita mo yung Kita mo yung linya ng bus, kung saan yung tatlong bus na yan.
Yeah.
They're on the leftmost side, so may solid white line, no?
Yes.
Ano ba ang
may
solid,
violation pa rin if it
ano
is.
ba ang solid white line, mga kapatid? Ang solid white line or yellow line means you cannot
No overtake. Totoo.
They're all there, oh.
Yeah. Plus nakikita mo yung 'di ba? Yung parang umuuga-uga na yung yung bus. Ibig sabihin mabilis yung takbo. Baka wala masyadong laman din.
Yeah, kahit sped up pa yan eh. Ba't kayo nandyan lahat?
Yes.
You're on the opposite side of the solid
may
line.
violation pa rin siya. Kaya ngayon kasi syempre, yung ibang mga tao baka mamaya mag-double second thoughts na mag-upload ng mga videos na makakakita sila ng something like this, 'di ba? Kasi baka sabihin nila, ay baka mademanda kami.
Ay nako,
Kaya that's why sinasabi nila, 'di ba? Ano pa rin, ano pa rin kayo, i-report nyo pa rin pag may nakikita kayong ganito.
Mag-try ka mag-long drive.
Kasi kung tama naman yung nire-report nyo, wala kayong dapat ikatakutan.
Daming
diba?
ganyan sa kalye. Try nyo mag-drive any long drive, short drive, city drive.
Ayun sa gabi, ayan
Oo, ayan sige.
So buti na lang, sabi, ipo-provide daw sila ng
Kaya wag pa rin kayo matakot
yung
na...
Department of Transportation, tutulungan nila yung uploader, di ba? They will provide legal support.
Tapos may numbers yan sa likod ng bus. Reckless driving call. Tawagan nyo kagad.
Basta makita nyo may violation. Kung totoo naman yan, wala kayo dapat ikatakot. Now we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Vice President Sara Duterte maintained that former President Rodrigo Duterte never used his influence to pressure witnesses linked to alleged extrajudicial killings during the war on drugs.
Vice President Sara Duterte blasted International Criminal Court prosecutors for blocking her father's request for interim release. She insisted that former President Rodrigo Duterte never wielded his influence against witnesses in alleged extrajudicial killings during the war on drugs. The VP added that her power over Digong's ICC case is negligible. The ICC prosecution team wants Duterte's bid for temporary freedom rejected on several grounds, including his camp's refusal to accept the legitimacy of ICC proceedings. Mr. Duterte is facing charges of crimes against humanity and has been detained in The Hague since March.
Parang sinasabi nila na they are for human rights and justice, and yet it is not provided for.
In an interview with A Big Story, ICC-accredited lawyer attorney Gilbert Andres defended the government's cooperation with the ICC. He said this reflects the Philippines' residual obligations under the Rome Statute despite its withdrawal.
I have been saying maybe 5 years before that the Philippines has residual obligations. It has still remaining obligations to cooperate with the ICC under Article 127 of the Rome Statute. In fact, the withdrawal does not actually negate that residual obligation to cooperate.
Meanwhile, the vice president also criticized the Marcos administration for questioning her travels. Sara explained that she still worked even while overseas. And on the day of President Bongbong Marcos' State of the Nation address, VP Duterte said she might go to South Korea for a personal trip. After that, she is off to Kuwait in August for another Free Duterte rally.
Hindi ko alam kung sinasadya nila na ayaw intindihin o talagang bobo lang talaga yung nasa administrasyon. Ilalagay namin doon personal to differentiate it from official.
Well,
Ayan na.
Well, yung sa alam mo, sige, for the sake of argument sabihin natin, sige, malamang hindi na never pressure or tinakot yung mga witnesses ng drug war, no? Lagay na natin yan sa discussion. Pero ang point is, indirectly, kahit walang ginagawa, ikaw isang witness at alam mo ang anak ng tinetestifian mo ay vice president, tapos mayor yung isa, vice mayor isa, congressman, tapos mayor yung sitting yung
And the result of the midterm elections,
yes,
mostly allies.
So there's still a powerful family. Kahit wala silang ginagawa, meron kang fear na umiiral sa pagkatao mo. So that could sway your statement and could affect the case.
And meron silang sinasabi din, of course, na rebuttal dun sa sinasabi ni VP Sara na former President Rodrigo Duterte never uses influence, diba, over anything. Yung sinasabi nila dati na nagkaroon ng Senate hearing kay Matubato, diba? Na-halt yung hearing na yun because you know naman who's in power, etc. Yun yung mga ibang mga sinasabi ng mga tao.
There were very few hearings during his presidency, former President Rodrigo Duterte's presidency, to tackle or to resolve or to mitigate yung EJK, whether utos niya or hindi. Diba? Ang question is, naalaganap siya sa panahon ni former President Duterte. So, sabi niya, whether he's indirectly associated with it, it happened. So, bakit hindi ginawa ng paraan para pigilan?
Right. And I remember yesterday we were talking to Attorney Cristina Conti and we talked about
legal
witnesses.
counsel sa ICC.
Yes, diba? We talked about witnesses and the victims, paano yung protection nila, etc. Well, apparently yesterday meron ding statement ng ICC, the court itself, saying na sila ay nagsasabi sa Pilipinas na ICC asked Philippines government to protect witnesses versus Duterte. Although sabi ni DOJ Secretary Remulla, wala pa naman formal letter or statement sila na binigay sa DOJ, pero willing naman daw sila gawin yun. And the Philippine government or DOJ said also through Secretary Remulla, sinasabi niya, willing din sila magbigay ng financial aid sa mga witnesses kung pupunta sa The Hague.
Pero,
diba, for the hearing, kung kailangan sila.
What happens after 3 years? Kawawa naman.
Yes.
Kasi this case is assuming daw, 5 to 7 years What happens kung nag-change yung presidency and hindi friendly sa case sa ICC ang mananalo? Let's say, si Inday Sara, si VP Sara, manalo. Paano yung protection nito, mga to? Diba? So, yun ang madaming katanungan na dapat isagot. All right, the House of Representatives stands firm that it followed the Constitution when it transmitted the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. Here's the report.
The House of Representatives has maintained that it did not violate any law when it transmitted the verified impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte to the Senate. This was stated in one of two pleadings submitted by the House Prosecution Panel to the Senate. The House affirmed that the impeachment proceedings initiated on February 5, 2025 fully complied with the 1987 Constitution and the rules of procedure in impeachment proceedings. The House also insisted that it did not breach the one-year ban rule on filing impeachment complaints. In the same submission, House prosecutors stood firm that there was no legal basis for the return of the articles of impeachment by the Senate. The second pleading submitted was the resubmission of the prosecutor's entry of appearance. This comes after the camp of VP Sara questioned its earlier filing, claiming the impeachment court had not yet convened at that time. However, the House has not yet submitted its official reply to VP Sara Duterte's answer ad cautelam, where she asked the court to dismiss the impeachment case. Senate President Escudero clarified that once the 20th Congress opens, the House must immediately designate its prosecutors and complete all required submissions before the Senate can schedule a pre-trial or trial proper.
Sa tigas ng ulo nila, ayaw nga tumanggap ng pleading, so hindi na ako magugulat kung gagawin mo nila yon. Biri mo, pagtanggap lang ng order, pagtanggap ng pleading, pagtanggap ng answer, pagtanggap ng appearance, pati yon papahirapan.
The House, through spokesperson Attorney Princess Abante, pushed back, saying the Senate returned the articles, not the other way around.
Hindi naman kami nagpapahirap. Walang tinatanggihan, walang pinahihirapan. Ang gusto natin, isang trial na magawa forthwith.
In the middle of this back and forth, Escudero also emphasized that senator judges may vote on the pending motion to dismiss the impeachment case.
Wala namang bawal ngang motion eh. Dahil collegial body ang Senado bilang impeachment court, kapag kami nag-motion at may nag-object, hindi ba, sa tagal nyo sa Senado, ano bang gagawin? E de, pagbobotohan.
Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte appears to have softened her stance following her previous remarks about wanting a bloodbath during her impeachment trial. She now says she is deferring to her legal counsel's strategy rather than pushing her personal preferences.
As a client, hindi ko papairalin yung gusto ko over doon sa gusto ng abogado. Because that would mean I'm wasting my money ko ayaw ko magsunog ng pera.
For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
Eto na.
Matigas ang ulo.
Nung una, ito ang request ng Senado para sabihin na matuloy yung trial. Ngayon, may request ng panibago. Ito na sinasabi ng iba eh. But, I don't know how to, as a regular person, how to understand it eh. Napakasimple. If mahina ang ebidensya in the first place, if it's a flawed impeachment case, di ba, it should be decided upon in trial. Dismiss, i-acquit nyo.
Yeah.
It's that simple. The mere fact, sabi nga remember ni Justice Carpio.
That's why nga dapat nangyari yung reading of the articles
Correct.
of impeachment para nalaman nila, may basehan ba kayo, yung evidences nyo, etc.
Kasi now, you look at the reply of VP Sara. Nagreklamo ang prosecution sa reply ni VP Sara sa yung articles of impeachment.
Odd cut.
It's because directly hindi in-address yung yung actual complaint. They're addressing the manner of which the complaint was transmitted.
But on a regular court, gano'n naman talaga eh, di ba? Yung defense will always question yung jurisdiction, yung process, etc. Pero yun nga sinasabi natin, baka ma-lost in translation na tayo dito. We have to remember, of course, for the public also to be aware na mapaalalahanan sila na the reason why we're talking about this is because there's a case, or there's ang tawag dito, yung complaint, di ba, against the Vice President of this country na merong allegedly misuse of public fund.
Linawin na natin sa viewers, we're not pushing for guilt or acquittal. We just want it to go to trial. Ngayon, we haven't
Parang
seen...
binabasketball kasi tayo nila sa
We haven't seen naman the evidence directly eh. Kung napanood natin sa impeachment trial on TV, mahina ebidensya, o di i-acquit nyo.
Alam natin, no?
Di ba alam natin?
Actually, yun yung sinabi ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan when
Tignan natin.
I interviewed him. last night nga dun sa The Long Take. I asked him kasi about yung thoughts niya about the impeachment, kung tama ba ginagawa ng Senado, ano ba yung nagkakaroon ba ng basketballan dito. Pero naging maingat siya sa kanyang statement, pero sinasabi niya, we're not for conviction or acquittal. Ang gawin ninyo, ilabas niyo yan, gawin natin yung impeachment by according sa batas, at kung walang ebidensya, edi acquit kung may ebidensya.
Yan ba yung sinabi ng interview mo? Sinabi ng interview ko. Ang sinabi naman ng interview ko, we are confident of a...
Iba sila eh.
Kasi prosecution si Attorney.
Yes,
Congressman
magiging part siya ng prosecution panel.
We are confident of a conviction given the evidence.
Yeah.
But we have to see ano ang evidence.
So anyway,
Ganun
kasi
kasimple.
di ba lagi sinasabi ng impeachment court through their spokesperson, Attorney Reginald Tongol, meron silang 11 steps, di ba? Ngayon ay nasa 6 na tayo. So awaiting ng reply of House prosecution within 5 days from the receipt.
Pero sabi nga ni Justice Carpio, before we go, ni retired Justice Carpio, when we interviewed him, napakasimple ng impeachment. Pag transmit ng Congress, no matter ano yung manner na pag-transmit nun, ang gagawin lang ng Senate, nothing else but to try the case. Pag mahina, acquit. Pag malakas na ebidensya, guilty. That's it. Ganon kasimple.
Yes.
Kunin nyo yung articles, try the case. Ganon daw dapat kasimple yan. Wala nang ibang usapan.
But lastly also, according to Senate President Jesus Cordero, they are planning to convene as an impeachment court for the 20th Congress by July 29. Kasi alam naman natin, 28 is the State of the Nation address. At yun nga, yung papasok na yung yung mga senators-elect. On a different note, but still, Vice President Sara Duterte attended the Pride event Kasarilayaan in the city of San Fernando, Pampanga. She highlighted that acceptance of the LGBTQ community begins at home. Duterte said it's time for the country to become more inclusive regardless of gender. One of her proposed initiatives is a scholarship grant for LGBTQ students entering college. She also called for stronger gender discrimination policies across all local government units.
To ensure these policies are not just passed, but effectively implemented, we advocate for the creation of a national LGBTQIA+ Commission.
COMELEC lifts suspension on Teodoro's proclamation as Marikina congressman. The Commission on Elections and Bank has lifted the suspension of the proclamation of Marcy Teodoro as the duly elected representative of Marikina City's 1st District in the 2025 midterm elections. In a resolution dated June 25, the COMELEC and Bank reversed an earlier decision by its first division, which had canceled Teodoro's certificate of candidacy over alleged material misrepresentation of his address. With the ruling, Teodoro's COC has been reinstated, allowing the poll body to proceed with his formal proclamation. He won the race by a wide margin, securing 75,062 votes against Senator Coco Pimentel's 29,091 votes. Yan,
yan yung inaabangan natin na isa sa magiging desisyon ng COMELEC regarding kay...
lift suspension
Yes.
Pero I remember si former Mayor Marcy Teodoro, ang dami siyang statement in the recent weeks. He was very confident because hindi lang niya mabanggit at that time yung merits of the case, but he was very confident daw na makakaupo naman siya. Because he met several requirements.
Kasi kinwestiyon nga yung residency niya, di ba, at that time na bakit yun daw yung nakalagay sa certificate of candidacy niya. Kaya nagkaroon ng suspension. Tapos nung nanalo siya, malayong agwat niya. Ang kalaban niya dyan si outgoing Senator Coco Pimentel, 'di ba? So a lot of people are saying, baka naman baka siya na yung umupo kasi masususpend or baka siya talaga ma-disqualify. Pero ito yung yung development ng kaso ni Mayor Teodoro.
Former Mayor and now Congressman Marcy Teodoro.
All right, and weather, the intertropical convergence zone and the southwest monsoon are expected to bring scattered rain showers and thunderstorms to various parts of the country on Thursday, according to Pag-asa. The Weather Bureau said the habagat will affect the western sections of Central Luzon, Central and Southern Luzon, bringing scattered rains over the Kalayaan Islands. Meanwhile, the ITCZ will bring similar weather conditions to Surigao del Norte, Surigao del Sur, Davao Oriental, Davao de Oro, and Davao Occidental. Pag-asa also noted that a tropical cyclone outside the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR currently poses no threat to any part of the country.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Philippines is now home to 12,800 high net worth individuals, according to Henley and Partners. The migration consultancy group revealed that just 82 individuals in the Philippines collectively hold over $19 billion or over a billion or trillion pesos in liquid assets. This is attributed to the rise of local entrepreneurs and the rapid development of the financial and real estate sectors as key drivers of the country's wealth growth. Despite this, Henley and Partners also estimates that around 50 high net worth individuals will leave the country in 2025. Daming mayaman ba?
Daming mayaman.
Wala ba tayo?
Kasi, di ba sabi nga nila during the pandemic, mukhang bumaba yung yung sa mga real estate development. Pero nung na-lift yung pandemic, yung natapos siya, nag-open ulit yung economy, nag-boom siya talaga. Talagang parang, anong tawag nila doon? Yung revenge buying.
Hindi, kasi what happened was, yung nagbagsakan yung prices of retail goods tsaka yung mga real estate. So people started to buy. Tapos when they started to buy, nag-appreciate.
Yes.
And these developers who bought started to sell again at a good cost.
Oo.
So nakabawi sila.
Alright, authorities are investigating a deepfake video of President Marcos promoting an online trading platform. According to the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group, they are now working with Facebook to preserve the video and trace the source of the digital forgery. The account behind the video is reportedly being managed overseas and linked to a suspicious e-commerce site. The Cybercrime Investigation and Coordination Center, or CICC, warned the public that this kind of AI-generated deception could be part of a fraudulent financial scheme.
Asek, thank you very much for joining us here on our show.
Magandang hapon ho sa inyong dalawa, sa inyong mga tagapanood, tagapakinig po. Magandang umaga po.
Asek, para lang po mas malinaw, can you give us a context po dito po sa deepfake video na ang nilalaman po ay mismo ang ating Pangulo?
Ito ho, na-detect ho ng ating threat monitoring system. We actively search not only the internet but the platforms for any signs of the fake news on illegal online gambling, tsaka itong mga online scams. Noong na-detect ho natin to, sakto naman may mga nag-report din. So what we did was we put it through our systems and our various tools to analyze yung mga computer-generated images. Noong nakita ho natin na ito ay isang deepfake, nagpalabas po kaagad tayo ng advisory. Ang context ho nito, just to answer the question, is may isang video po na si Presidente, apparently along with Elon Musk, ay nag-endorse ng isang product at saka isang financial investment. So yun yung naging video na yun.
Pero Asek, kasi when you look at the video, of course, kung trained ang mata mo, may makikita kang inconsistencies at malalaman mo deepfake. But for the general public na hindi naman mapagmasid ng ganyan, ano yung mga signs na medyong evident na malalaman mo na deepfake nga ito?
Well, ang nangyayari ho kasi these scammers or these threat actors po, ini-exploit na nila yung mga iba't ibang mga features ng mga social media platforms na to. For example, ito pong particular deepfake video na to, nakahanap din kami na sponsored site din to mga to. So lumalabas talaga sa mga feeds.
Okay.
So yun yung una nating palatandaan na pag ito lumabas sa feeds, you have to verify kagad doon sa source. Andyan naman po ang mga programang katulad nyo. Pero in particular for the President, andyan naman ang Office of the President, andyan naman po ang PCO para i-verify ho ano yung mga activities ng ating Pangulo at saka yung mga partnerships that he has. So you verify from the source. On its face naman po, yan, katulad doon ng mga shading, inconsistent yung mouth movement, pagdating doon sa sinasabi at saka doon sa binibigkas ng Pangulo, doon sa lumalabas doon sa galaw ng bibig niya, yung shading ng background, yun yung mga palatandaan natin. At saka pag ngayon, ang lumalabas ng mga deepfakes, yung mga super enhanced, yung parang parang movie setting
parang
na.
perfect
naman.
na. Oo, too perfect. Oo.
Kasi gusto ko dugtong yung tanong ko dyan, Asek, no? Kasi aside from deepfake, we are also facing yung mga AI na ang dami ng app like Veo 3, meron pa yung from Gemini, that really create realistic videos na galing sa prompt. Now with all these things coming out, ano po ngayon ang mga programa ng ahensya nyo, at least to strengthen yung capacity natin to raise awareness and fight all of this from being used the wrong way?
Tama po. Tama naman ho. That is one good point na kailangan natin banggitin na itong AI, itong mga tools na to, hindi naman ho talaga sila inherently masama. In fact, the advent or the beginning of these deepfakes, ginagamit ho dati to, yung mga computer-generated images, ginagamit to pang pelikula ho para maganda talaga yung mga pelikula eh.
Yes.
But again, ang nangyayari, ginagamit din ho to para manloko ng tao. So, we would be launching a very comprehensive information and educational campaign. At dito ho, kailangan namin ho yung mga katulad ng mga programa nyo, yung mga platforms na katugayan nyo na tulungan ho kami maabot yung mga kababayan natin para naman ho magbigay tayo ng not only advisories but proactively magbigay ng mga tips on how not to be victimized by these scammers po.
Asek, I wanna go back doon sa mismong video ni PBBM na fake, no, na ginamit yung kanyang video, yung muka, allegedly for online scamming. Ito po bang video na to ay taken down na sa social media? The reason why I'm asking this, kasi paano po ba yung pakikipag-coordinate po ninyo sa Meta?
Tama po. Una-una, yes, na-take down na. That's the simple answer. Pero medyo nababagalan no kami kasi we have to understand that every second that this video is up, may nabibiktima or may napapaniwala. So medyo nababagalan kami. In fact, just yesterday, I had an extensive conversation with the SICT, ang ating kalihim na si Secretary Henry Aguda. We are constrained at pinag-iisipan na namin talaga sumulat sa mismong founder ng Meta na si Mark Zuckerberg in hopes na mapakinggan or to start a dialogue na pagdating naman siguro sa mga videos na katulad nito when it impersonates yung mga key public officials natin or it destroys yung vital government institutions natin, baka may mas mabilis na paraan na hindi na dumaan doon sa checking nila to whether it violates its community standards. Diba? Kailangan mo may mas mabilis na paraan. Nati-take down nila pero yun, nababagala lang ho talaga kami doon sa pag-take down nila.
Alright, kasi this is a new level of online threat. Sinasabi nga, no, dahil hindi lang si Pangulong, I mean, di ba, kung yung Pangulo nga nagagamit, what else yung iba pang mga personalidad, ibang mga ordinaryong tao. But the real question here po is yung dun po sa sinasabi na nakita po nila yung nagsusupport ng video nito ay overseas. Pero I saw an article na meron po silang pinangalanan. So, can we also get the details from you regarding the investigation kung sino po behind this?
Yeah, meron na ho tayo ng unmasked ng mga individuals that we have passed on to law enforcement agencies. In fact, later on, we would be discussing do sa CICC Council naman, yung Cybercrime Investigation and Coordination Council. It's EXICOM is headed by the SICT. It will be attended by members ng PNP, ng NBI po at saka ng DOJ. Hopefully to create, talagang pinupush namin yung creation na talaga ng task force po para mas mabilis siya. Kasi dapat hindi ho tayo tumigil doon sa pagti-take down lang.
Right.
Dapat meron siyang attribution, makilala natin kung sino, may apprehension, prosecution, and conviction. Dapat yun yung end product na pinagtutulong-tulungan ho natin lahat. Tama ho, this problem is borderless kasi nakikita natin that the machinery and the scam hub itself is located outside the country. Pero yung mga local participants, kailangan mahabol din natin.
Totoo yan. Kasi ang nangyayari dyan, Asik, di ba, correct me if I'm wrong, take down mo lang yung video, and then yung mga scammers, they will just create another profile and then upload such videos as well. Pa rin.
Tama po. Hindi lang ho yan. At the end, like I mentioned earlier, they exploit ho yung ibang features ng mga social media platforms. Like yung mga paid advertisements, they propagate the scam through paid advertisements. So it adds to, hindi lang ho it adds to yung pagpapabilis, but it adds to the credibility ng scam. Kasi sponsored site to, mangyayari. So sasabihin ng mga tao, minsan yun yung thinking nila, sponsored site to, ibig sabihin, totoo to. So hindi lang ho dyan yung hindi lang dyan ho tayo dapat maging wary. Kasi, for example, ito ho, this is, we call this a financial scam ho commercial scam. Paano na ho pag ang Pangulo ginamit o yung image ng Pangulo ginamit para naman mag-propagate ng fake news na mag-start ng gera, magkukos ng dissent sa ating mga kababayan or kaya mga magpaalab doon sa mga damdamin nila against the government. So, it's a serious threat ho talaga, and yun talaga yung kailangan nating i-resolve. Not only with the whole of government approach, not only with the whole of country approach, but kailangan din natin mga kaalyado natin sa ibang bansa. This is really a whole of society approach na kailangan lahat magtulong-tulong para solve itong problema.
Yeah, it's truly, ang tawag nila dyan, digital deception na. Asek, para po dun sa last, para po sa mga kababayan po natin, mga kapatid natin na nanonood ngayon, na, to make sure po na alam po nila, ano po ba yung maaring parusa na ibigay po dun sa mga mapapatunayan po upon investigation within our jurisdiction na sila po ay nag-upload ng mga AI-generated na
or deepfakes
na videos.
Ito ho, meron na ho tayo mga umiiral na batas, particularly yung RA 1175, which is the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. Na ang pinakamataas na parusa ho, pag halimbawa doon mismo doon sa batas na yon, for example, yung mga identity theft, na gaya nito, hanggang 12 years ho ang parusa niyan. Pero ho, pag ito pumasok din sa mga provisions na revised penal code, halimbawa ho, yung illegal publication or unlawful publication, kung ano yung parusa doon, plus 1 degree higher po. At ito ho yung sistema, hindi pwedeng and or lang. Halimbawa, kakasuhan ka lang doon sa violation ng Republic Act 1175 or violation lang ng revised penal code. Pwede ho magsabay. So, pwedeng dalawang parusa ang ipapataw sa inyo based on that one criminal act.
Alright, tulad po ng dating gawin, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras at patuloy po kami makikipag-usap po sa inyo regarding this issue. Now, in other news, a teacher by day, a motorcycle taxi rider by night. A woman from Caloocan is earning praise online for her determination and drive. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos.
Sa hirap ng buhay ngayon, tila hindi na sapat ang isa lang na trabaho. Kaya naman ang nakilala kong si teacher, sumasideline bilang motorcycle taxi rider.
Teacher sa umaga, motorcycle taxi rider sa gabi. Ayan si Ma'am Maricar, 34 na taong gulang mula Caloocan. Araw-araw, 66 na kilometro ang binabagtas niya makapasok at makauwi lamang sa trabaho. Assigned kasi siya sa isang public school sa Pasay City. At sa haba ng kanyang biyahe, naisipan niya nang mag-apply bilang MC taxi rider.
Kasi po before commuter lang po ako 5 sakay papunta, papasok. 2 to 3 hours ang biyahe. 5 sakay pa uwi. 2 to 3 hours ang biyahe. Depende na lang po kung traffic.
Tiniis niya ito dahil passion naman daw talaga ni Ma'am Maricar ang pagtuturo. Pero dahil sa hirap ng buhay, may mga araw na kinukulang din sa panggastos. Kaya bago pa raw siya maging MC taxi rider, nasubukan din ni Ma'am Maricar na maging delivery rider, ang kanyang diskarte.
Yung akin pong uniform, Monday pa lang po, baon ko na yung 1 week na uniform ko, tapos dito na po ako sa school nagpapalit.
Kaya naman pati netizens, lubos ang paghanga kay Ma'am Maricar. Ang video nga na ito ni Ma'am, nababiyahe pagkatapos ng kanyang pagtuturo, may 1.2 million views na. Para kay Ma'am Maricar, ang dalawang trabaho na kanyang itinatawid araw-araw ay sumasalamin sa katotohanan ng buhay bilang guro, magulang at anak na hangad ang maayos na buhay para sa pamilya.
Ngayon po, yung mga extra, yung mga kinikita ko po sa pag MC taxi, nakakadagdag siya sa daily expenses kasi hindi po kasi porket may isa ka ng trabaho is masasabi na natin siyang enough. Dumadating din po tayo sa mga punto na yung tinatawag nating pecha de peligro.
Sa hirap ng buhay ngayon, marami sa atin ang doble kayod para sa sarili at ating mga minamahal sa buhay. Pero wag sana nating kalimutan na alagaan ng sarili at siguruhin ang ating kasiyahan. Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos po. Hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Alex Ayala once again pulls off an upset over world number 20 Helena Ostapenko in the round of 16 at the Eastbourne Open. Despite being blanked in the first set against a determined Ostapenko, Ayala gathered her bearings to leave her opponent on the back foot. She took the victory in 3 sets, 0-6, 6-2, 3-2. Ayala faces the winner between wildcard entrant Francesca Jones and world number 32 Diana Yastremska in the quarterfinals of the WTA 250 TIF. Galing naman ni Alex.
Congratulations.
Oo.
World number 20 yun, ah.
Oh, world number 2. Pero ano kasi, kaya siya umangat before, may mga tinalo siya, remember?
Yeah,
world
yeah,
number 2, world number 1. Yan. Sige. All right. And now, before I let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote. If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. In other words, we're all human beings. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.